Hey, Austin, can you hear us?
Yeah, how's it going?
Doing really well. And we are now joined by Austin Cookie Dough Dillon,
Oh,
driver,
great.
driver of that number three Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing. And just moments ago, unveiling that paint scheme for the NASCAR All-Star race at Texas Motor Speedway, sponsored by Andy's Frozen Custard. And Austin, man, it's a cool looking car, but also you have cookie dough, a cookie dough flavor that includes banana and peanut butter as well. Walk us through all of that.
Yeah, so our relationship with Andy's goes all the way back to 2015 when I met Andy, and we've created an awesome relationship. Their family loves racing, and I knew that Terry Phillips, he always had Andy's on his dirt car, and we started talking, and we were able to strike up conversation, and eventually led to putting Andy's on my gloves. And we went to Daytona, had an in-car camera, and it was a great deal for not only myself but for Andy's, and we've just grown this relationship, which is what you want to do. You want to start from the ground up and build it together. And I think both companies have really worked well together. And now we're getting the first paint scheme in a cup race. It's cool to have brought them from my gloves all the way to a cup race and being the all-star race or racing for $1 million. I think that's awesome. And in a place where Andy's also wanted to be at in Texas Motor Speedway around the Texas area. So it's exciting. And my three Crete, obviously, you've already called me cookie dough. So you heard the story. I love cookie dough as a kid. And then my coach called me that because he knew I loved it. And I think it was a motivational thing to get me to work harder or something. But the banana and peanut butter comes from my grandmother, because when I go to my grandma's house, it was either banana peanut butter sandwich or the tomato, and I didn't feel like tomatoes would go good in custard, so we just stuck with the banana peanut butter that she used to make me.
Awesome. Well, we're going to open the floor for questions. Our first question is going to come from Claire B. Lang. Go ahead with the question, Claire.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So my question for you is if you could take us through how you approach a track like Richmond that isn't your greatest track, right? But you come out of Martinsville, you're probably psyched for it, and you will start 11th. So what's on your mind?
Claire, Richmond is now like my favorite track in the world. I finished fourth last year, and I've had three like consecutive top seven finishes. You know that that's like my best now, but it was my least favorite. I will give you that. You got that right. I sucked there at the beginning of my career. I hated it, dreaded going there. I said I wish Richmond would just not be a track anymore. And somehow over the years, I've made it into a good place for us. We had a really strong run last year there, and I sped on pit road, probably in the playoffs. So it was what kind of locked us into that second round was the solidifying after Darlington going to Richmond and having a good run. So we really, looked at everything that we did last year and didn't change a whole lot, but went back over some things in the simulator, and I think it should be a good one. Obviously, starting 11th helps. Have a good pit stall, and we're just going to go after it. We need to lock ourselves in the playoffs or better ourselves in points this weekend.
So your numbers going up as far as your averages because you've had some good finishes, right? How do you turn that around at a track? Is that, I mean, obviously work from the team, but mentally, like feeling better about it and figuring out a way to make it work?
Yeah, it's a tough place. I think at Richmond, you look at the people that run well there. There's a lot of people that have been racing in NASCAR for a long time. A lot of the veterans do well there, and I think the hardest part is learning how to adjust that track. Making the right adjustments throughout a run, because it kind of just tricks you a little bit. It can, because you start on a green track sometimes and the rubber gets laid down. But I found something I felt like that worked for me, a line, and I've just kind of stuck to it. And same with the setup. Justin's done a good job with finding a setup that works for our RCR number 3, and we'll get after it.
Real quick, Chase Elliott said yesterday that one thing about that track is that everybody runs the same there. You can't find different areas to run like you can at Martinsville, and that makes it harder. Do you find it that way? And thank you.
Yeah, I think, you see the middle and the top come in for a short period of time, but it kind of goes back to being the bottom is the dominant line. But I definitely think there's some things you can do to move around and find speed as the tires wear.
Appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next question is going to come from Bob Pockris. Go ahead with the question, Bob.
Yeah, Austin, last September, with the way these stages are, two pretty long stages in the second and third stage, if they're long green flag runs, some teams were doing one pit stop, some teams were doing two pit stops. what do you anticipate will happen on Sunday?
Yeah, looking at that strategy, it worked out for some guys. Short pitting works out. I think it puts a little more pressure on the crew chief to make a call whether your car is going to be able to hold on for a complete run, or you need to come get tires and split it up and come down pit road twice. I think it's really kind of based off of how good your car is in that moment. I think it's obviously easier to take a pit stop out and run long, less chance of having a catastrophic mistake on pit road. A lot of things go wrong there, and then a caution flies when you're on pit road. It's double whammy. So I personally like less pit stops, but if it's something that we have to do for the ability of our car, then we have to do it.
Thank you.
Our next question is going to come from Woody Kane. Go ahead with the question, Woody.
Hey, Austin, appreciate your time. Wanted to look ahead to Talladega the following week and the whole dynamic of needing a teammate to work with, or at least a manufacturer teammate, and how that can kind of get all jumbled up if you get toward the end or your car happens to work better with a driver of a different team or manufacturer, and how you manage all that.
It's definitely pretty tough to manage, but the best thing about a speedway is taking a fast car and trying to keep it up front. When you get up there, trying to keep it up there, then everybody wants to work with you because they know you got speed. The manufacturer stuff is really tough. I think for us, Chevy's been working well together. Chase and I worked pretty good there at the Daytona 500 and had a chance to kind of get up there and mix it up. But we got to do a better job this time. I think the Fords had us covered late in that race, and we got to figure out which we lost some of our bullets early. The big wreck. But Woody, we love Talladega, and I think we're taking our same 500 car there, and we'll see how it lines up. By the way, go Braves! I like your shirt.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Our next question is going to come from Hank Kurz. Go ahead with the question, Hank.
Hey, Austin. So you guys have raced most of the time at night at Richmond. How much value do your notes have when you're going to race in the middle of the afternoon?
That's a good question. We have some day race experience, and we can go look back on that stuff. Each year NASCAR has subtly changed packages. This is the first year that we've had the same package back to back. Heat factors into every racetrack, temperature. So we'll definitely try to make the best adjustments we can to keep up with the track. And hopefully what we've got in it right now is just a good starting place, and we don't have to do a whole lot.
Okay, and there's talk all around the country about, vaccination and getting back to normal and all that stuff. And in NASCAR especially, where you guys like to spend face time with people that support you, have you guys as a team come up with a strategy, or is it all individual, or how are you guys going about that?
I think it's mostly individual. I think it's, we all want to do the best to be safest, but I think it's our own opinion and the direction we go from here. I think it's individually made, and but you definitely want to think about the future and be as safe as possible.
Where do you come down on that list?
Where do I come down on that list?
Yeah, will you get a vaccine, or what? Have you thought about that yet?
Yeah, I think that's personal information. I don't know what how to answer that question.
Okay, appreciate it.
Our next question will come from Chris Estrada. Go ahead with the question, Chris.
First off, Austin, thanks for joining us. Just going back to Richmond, where you've been able to have some success as of late, how does that track in particular fit with your driving style, and how does it work in that way?
Sorry, I missed just the last part you said about Richmond.
No, yeah, how does it fit with your driving style overall?
Oh well, in the past it clashed, I thought, but now we have longer runs. I feel like I'm a strong guy when it comes to long runs and taking care of my tires. I do a pretty good job of that. It definitely was tough early in my career, just trying to figure out what the car wanted. I don't think I ever went the right direction on an adjustment. But now, as things have progressed, it's kind of come to me in a good way, and it's one of those places that matches. what I think I'm good at.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Marty Sikala. Go ahead with the question, Marty.
Thanks, man. Austin, thanks for the time, man. Hope you're doing well. Just going back to Richmond, you talked about it with Claire leading 55 laps there last year. What are some of the main things that RCR took away from that race heading into this weekend?
Well, it was a strong, presence for RCR there. Those in the playoffs, we needed to show up. We won that first stage, kind of drove off in the first stage. And second stage, I finished second with a penalty. I think I got the penalty at the end of the first stage. So we somehow drove from dead last back up to second and led. I think we just had to short pit, and I gained some of our track position back. And Brad caught me with probably 10 to 15 to go. I couldn't hold him off to win both stages. So, yeah, I think we hopefully, with the weather change, obviously being a day race, we make the right adjustments and we're in the same position, and I just don't make a mistake like I did.
And want to ask you as well, BetMGM has your odds this weekend at 40-1. Do you see yourself as possibly like an underdog entering this weekend? You've been pretty good at short tracks this season, almost been able to get a top 10 at those tracks, but do you feel like you're an underdog entering this race?
Oh, I probably looked at underdog most of the time. I think in my wins, I've been the underdog. So 40-1 is probably better than I usually get. So I don't know. I like sneaking up on the competition sometimes. So when they're sleeping on me, it's a good thing.
Thanks, Austin. Good luck this weekend, man.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Jeff Magliochetti. Go ahead with the question.
Thanks, Matt. Hey, Austin, thank you for joining us today. We're coming up to a bit of a landmark on the Cup Series schedule, and that will be a quarter of the way done this week. And we've seen all different kinds of tracks, unusual for this time of the year. So how do you assess RCR's performance at this point of the year, particularly with your number 3 squad?
Yeah, I think we've had some really good runs this year, coming up to that mark in the season. We're in a good place as far as points goes. I definitely wish I could have the finish back at the road course, but you have to move on from some of those things. It's a long season. There's no perfect season. I feel like we need to keep adjusting and make ourselves better. So when the time comes where we need to be our best, we are the best. So we just keep doing our thing. I think we're moving in the right direction. Obviously, our cars have had speed since last year, and we've been able to maintain some of that. There's certain places that I feel like we can get better all around. But good spot. We could be in a way worse spot. There's some guys mired back there in points that are, looked at as favorites or just in a bad position. We're in a better position than we have been at this point in the season before. And on the odds question, I think I was one of the best odds for the dirt race, and we were absolutely terrible. So I'm kind of glad that we're not the best odds at Richmond.
And, you're in a bit of an unusual spot for you anyway, in that you're almost an elder statesman of sorts at RCR for a change. So when Tyler Reddick was struggling, he's got back on track with consecutive top 10 finishes. When he was struggling, was there any sort of advice you could offer to him to help him get back on the right track?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is just getting everything, when you're younger, feel like I'm still young, is getting everything outside of your life going in the right direction. Because everything bleeds over into that race car. When you get in there, you got to have a clear mind, really focus on what you got going on. And I think, for Tyler, he had so much success in his Xfinity career. And then as soon as he got in the Cup Series, he did a great job. And you just, in the Cup Series, you're going to have lulls and how you handle them and how you bounce back from them. Luckily, you get to race every weekend and you can kind of wipe out some of those bad days. But I think he's doing a good job. Like you said, he's back on track. He's been tough, and it's good to see him where he was at Martinsville. I think we can use some of that when we go back to Martinsville, some of his setups and stuff that they use. So it's just better for all of us at RCR when he runs well, and I do too.
Well, thanks, Austin. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Joe.
Our final question is going to come from Cooper Watson. Go ahead with the question, Cooper.
Hey, buddy. I hope you're doing well. This is Cooper from the Left Turn Cult podcast. We're just a weekly podcast that runs. But, I come in here a little unbiased trying to. But, big RCR guy, big Dillon guys. So my big question for you is.
We love the bias, bro.
You've run some of the best paint schemes this season. I've enjoyed the BetMGM, the Bass Pro. And I've noticed you've only run the Dow at the Daytona Road Course. Is that something you could elaborate on? Is Dow still going to be a primary, or is Bass Pro Track or Off-Road, is that your go-to now?
Yeah, thanks, Cooper. Dow's still got some races coming up.
Okay.
They just kind of have races later in the season. And thanks for the shout out on the paint schemes. I do think at RCR we do the best paint schemes. As you can tell, the Andy's Frozen Coaster paint scheme today looks epic.
Fantastic.
So we do a really good job at RCR graphics and everybody working together to get the best we can out of our cars. And I would be biased toward that too, but Bass Pro Shops, I see that on your hat. They're a big supporter of ours and have the majority of our races, them and road. So we're really thankful for all of our partners at RCR.
Which is great to see. I'm glad that Bass Pro car looks so great out there. I hope you do well this weekend. You're going to be an eye I'm looking at, of course, every weekend. You're the guy to go to. So I hope you perform well. You and Tyler both. Hope you get it.
Thanks, Cooper.
Good deal. Well, Austin, thank you for taking the time to join us today, and good luck this weekend at Richmond Raceway.
Thank you.